Hey everybody, so my name is Tanya Adams and I'm known as Coach T around the world. I am a neuroscience coach and I help people to thrive in business and in their own personal lives. And I am so excited about what I want to talk to you about today because it is something that comes up a lot and it's a question that I get asked very, very often. The question that I get asked often is, how do I build my confidence? How do I increase my self-belief? And equally as often, the answer that I give people is not really well received. Many people misunderstand that confidence or self-belief, confidence is not a personality trait that some people are born with, and self-belief is not a characteristic that some people get and some people don't. The truth is that confidence is actually a set of neural pathways that operate to help us look and feel and perform at the top level when we want to get something done. And this for me is very exciting. I love all things neuroscience, and what excites me most about neuroscience is the fact that neuroplasticity, which tells us that the brain is always changing, it's always growing, and it's always recreating ourselves, neuroplasticity clearly indicates that through the use of deliberate practice and then also adjusting and changing based on the feedback that we get from our activities, we have the ability to rewire our brains. Now, this is very exciting when people say to me, how do I build confidence? Because I know that the way through confidence is based on action. And the title of my topic today was, what is the relationship between confidence and control? So when people talk to me about confidence or low self-belief, what actually they're talking about is the inability to control effectively the outcome of the scenario. And that's really what's happening, is a fear around, I don't know how this is going to play out. I don't know if I'm going to get the result that I want. And that then leads to behaviors that look like typical behaviors that we would call low self-confidence behaviors or low self-belief behaviors. Behaviors like perfectionism, double checking, triple checking, over checking, not wanting to do the thing until I'm 100% sure that it is perfect. Procrastination, putting tasks off until you are ready, until you feel ready. Prioritizing other people's needs over the very important task that you know must get done. And this constant sense of always getting ready. I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready to do the thing. I'm getting ready to speak to people. I'm getting ready to get visible. I'm getting ready to put my stuff out there. These are all behaviors that look like, and we typically label them as low self-confidence or low belief behaviors. What's actually happening underneath there is that there is a lack of certainty in you about what's going to happen on the other side. And it's easy to confuse confidence with certainty if your personal version or your prerequisite for doing a thing, for taking action, for launching your project, for speaking up, for reaching out, if your prerequisite is that I must be 100% certain of myself or certain of the outcome, if that's your prerequisite, then you may be calling your non-action a lack of confidence. But confidence is not about certainty. People who display a lot of high levels of confidence are no more certain about the outcome of their action than people who display low confidence behaviors. So what is that all about? What makes the difference then? If certainty isn't the issue, that people who are looking confident and people who don't look confident have equally as little certainty about the outcome as each other, what is it all about? And what it's actually all about is self-trust. And it's self-trust in motion through action. It's not something that is going to descend on you. Confidence is not going to magically descend on you, or you're not going to one day wake up feeling all this upwelling of self-belief. And how do we know that? Or this is what I want to share with you today, is that there's a lot of neuroscience behind this. And what's actually happening is your brain. And I talk about this a lot, is how do you help your brain help you? The fact is that your brain is sitting there, it's waiting and ready and excited about helping you. What exactly is it excited about helping you do? It's excited about helping you to stay alive. And that may mean that it's excited about getting food for you, or getting a partner for you, or keeping you safe in some other way. In other words, avoiding danger. And all the time, your brain is on and primed and ready to help you in these three areas. Don't die, we'll keep you safe. Make sure you keep feeding the organism, and make sure you find a way to pass on the genes. That's what your brain is very excited and ready to do. And so when it comes to keeping you safe, there's three main ways that the brain operates in this sphere. The first way that it operates is it looks for previous data. So this is its mechanism is to scan for previous data or previous evidence or previous experience of this thing, of you doing this thing, whether that's putting stuff on social media, whether it's doing a business presentation, whether it's doing a product presentation. The minute that the thought happens, oh, this is what we must be doing now, the brain straight away goes to look for evidence of what happened the last time that we did this, or that we moved into this space. And it's going to come up with three sort of options. The one option is that it's going to look for positive evidence that this went well, and it will pull up all of that store of evidence that this thing was successful in the past, whatever it was that you did. And this extends not just to business. It may be in, I want to lose weight. It may be I want to get fit. It may be I want to change my eating behavior. It may be I am looking for a new relationship. Whatever it is that you've decided, okay, now this is where we're going, the brain's going, oh, hang on, let me check past data. Do we have evidence about this thing ever before? And it's going to come up with one of three things. It's either going to come up with a big store of evidence that says, oh, yes, we were very successful in this space before. This is going to be a safe space for us to move into. We can definitely move forward with this. And it's going to signal a whole lot of neurochemicals that move you into action. So you're going to get some dopamine going on there. You're probably going to get a little bit of cortisol. If you've got to get up out of your chair, you need the cortisol and the adrenaline and the dopamine all together to lift you out of your chair and to go do the thing. The second thing it's going to come up with is, oh, we have a very big pile of evidence that says the last time this thing happened, we moved into this space, not so good. Not so good at all. And so then it's going to send a whole lot of neurochemicals into your body. Now, remember, your brain and your body are the one thing. Throughout history, there's been this division between the head and the body. And the more we know scientifically, we know that the neurochemicals are all through the gut-brain axis. So there's not a piece of your brain sitting in your head. Your brain is your body, and your body is your brain. And so when it encounters this whole store of not such good evidence, it goes, stay away. And it's either going to push you to avoid, so procrastinate, get ready, or it's going to completely have you run the other way, or you'll just fight against whatever that thing is. So how this looks is, if you're working with a coach or a mentor, what starts to happen, the behavior your coach or mentor is seeing is a lot of very good reasons for not moving into that space. So your coach or your mentor is encouraging you to present, to post, to be more visible. And there's a list of things that you are going to fight against and say, no, 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 no. This is the reason why we can't do those things that you're guiding me to do. The third option that the brain encounters is nothing. It goes, we do not have data for this thing. This is entirely new. There is no evidence either for or against our success rates here. And this signals to the brain the most dangerous place that it can be in. The brain likes to predict what's going to happen so that it can tell you what direction to move forward in. And when it encounters zero evidence, it then makes the assumption and concludes that this is very dangerous. If I can't predict what's coming, then we cannot move forward. And this is the place where all coaches and all mentors are going to ask you to move into. This is a place of neurological uncertainty. It is a place where we would call this the comfort outside of your comfort zone, and all coaches are going to ask you to go there. Yet the brain itself is going, no, 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 no. I'm not going to go into that space. And so what do we do with this? This is where we typically see the low confidence behaviors, particularly for if you are new in the business, if you've only just joined or started your business, or you're moving into a new exercise space, or if this is genuinely a new space for you, what will happen is that you're going to encounter a lot of fear. It will feel fearful. It will feel like you're not able to do what you want to do. And the behaviors that you'll start exhibiting will be in that range of so-called low confidence behaviors. So what do we have to do for this? Because we know, unfortunately, that control, this is the link between control and confidence. What we seek to do is try and control the outcome by over-preparing, overthinking, avoidance. And the truth is that control is not going to help your brain move into a space of building evidence. The more over control mechanisms that we use, no matter what those look like, procrastination or perfectionism, the more those we invoke, the less opportunity there is for your brain to build a store of evidence in either direction. And so by staying in those behaviors and those actions, the brain never learns. It cannot learn. It cannot move forward. So what are you going to do? This is why when people say to me, how do I build self-belief? How do I grow my confidence? They don't like my answer. Because I know that from a neuroscience perspective, the only way that you can grow confidence is to act despite what your brain is screaming at you. To, in fact, take ownership of your own automatic neural firing and override it and say, I am going to act here so that I can gather some evidence in this space. Now, that sounds appalling when I say that, particularly when people have come to me and said, this is hard for me. I need confidence before I act. And I say, you're never going to get the confidence. You have to act in order to get the confidence. The equation works backwards. So I've developed a little framework. It's called the roar framework. And you can roar it out like a lion, because just even that roar is going to give you some confidence. And you can make a note of this as you're listening along. The first R is to regulate your nervous system. Now, your nervous system is all those internal things that are firing all the time in your brain to signal safety versus danger. And one of the easiest and quickest ways to do that is through breathing. A couple of deep breaths. So if you are now faced with acting and you must act in a space in order to grow your confidence, the first thing you want to do is take a few deep breaths. And we can practice this. And just release. And let your shoulders settle. And then try it again. And release. And what can you feel? What you will feel immediately is a sense of calm, a sense of relaxation. Now, what's happening there is that the deep breathing is triggering the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve runs all the way through the gut-brain axis. And the minute the vagus nerve is stimulated, it signals to the brain, this is a safe space. It signals safety to the brain. And you can do the breaths as often as you like. Other good ways to regulate your nervous system are to put on music that your brain has evidence of. This music plays when I'm safe. This music plays when things are going well. Or you might have clothing that you can put on that signals to the brain, this is my power clothing. Whenever I have worn this, good stuff has happened to me. And so you want to look for anything that signals to the brain, it's called a cue, that you are now in a safe space. So the first place to start is actually to regulate those neurochemicals, and you get to choose to do this. This is a completely self-directed behavior. Regulate your nervous system, and then the next time that you do this particular activity, your brain is building associations all the time. And when you've engaged in this little ritual to settle your nervous system beforehand, what then happens is the next time you're going to sit down to do this activity or stand or move, the brain's already got the starting of little neural networks that say, oh, I kind of remember a little bit about this. There was some degree of safety associated with this thing before. So let's kind of go again. And then the second thing, the second A in the raw is anchor your own existing self-belief. Statistically, based on the fact that you've lived at least 20 or more years, you actually, in fact, have a lot of evidence of a lot of things. The fact that your brain is not easily able to recall the positive evidence of something similar is a function of the fact that there are stronger neural paths to a different destination. You have the ability to strengthen those neural paths through repetition, and how you do that is to make the decision to choose to look for evidence that in some similar situation, you have had some positive outcomes. This is the principle that Benjamin Hardy and his name escapes me, Benjamin Hardy talks about in The Gap in the Gain. This is why gain thinking is so important. What you're doing is you're strengthening the neural pathway to the store of positive evidence that your brain associates with this particular activity. It did exist all the time. What didn't exist was the strengthening of that neural network. So anchor your own self-belief by making conscious notes of any positive associations with something that was similar in the past. It may not be the exact same activity. All your brain is really looking for is associations, because the other thing about our brain is it often takes shortcuts. So if you give it a shortcut and say, look, this is kind of like that thing that I did, and look how well that thing turned out, it doesn't question. It'll go, oh, okay, I can see that association. And the more often you build that thought pattern, over time, what happens is it's easier for you to go to the positive store of evidence for the preferred behavior than it is for the negative. Now, caveat here, if you want to put yourself off a behavior, if you want to stop smoking, if you want to stop overeating, make journal notes of all the bad things that happened every time you lit a cigarette, every time you overate. Strengthen the neural networks in favor of this is not a good behavior. And so you can do it both ways. And then the third step in RA is act now. Act while your nervous system is regulated. Act while you have a fresh list of positive evidence in your head. Do not wait. If you wait, what's going to happen is the whole thing's going to reset itself again. Because you've got harder wiring for all the other stuff, the brain's just going to default into the easiest pathway. Why? Because the brain wants to save energy. It actually doesn't like to have to go and lay down new neural networks. That requires a lot of glucose. It requires a lot of energy. It requires a lot of energy drain. And so if you do not act now and reinforce those two first steps, all that's going to happen is the brain's going to go back to its old default, which is the energy saving mode of, let's not do this. I have low confidence. And this is the mistake that I see a lot of people make. They do all the setup stuff. They do the meditations, they do the breathing, they put on the funky music, and then they talk themselves out of the action. Now, here's the real trouble with that, is that now what you're doing is teaching the brain that all of that setup stuff leads to non-action. And unfortunately, because the brain is so plastic, all that you've done is created a feedback loop that reinforces, I don't do what I said I was going to do. And this is how I'm going to wrap it up, is that confidence is not about doing it well. It's not about putting up a post that goes viral and then saying, I have positive evidence. It's not about doing a presentation and of your product and everybody buys it and going, this is positive store of evidence. In fact, the positive store of evidence your brain is wanting to build is self-trust. Can I trust myself that when I say I will do something, I do it? And so acting in this space is about a willingness to act imperfectly. Imperfect action builds the trust cycle that I am willing to learn, I am willing to grow, I'm willing to do things that are not usual for me or not within my comfort zone. And it teaches the brain, I can handle this. I can do challenging things. I can trust myself. And so then confidence becomes not related to a single situation. It becomes a way of being, which takes me back to the beginning. How come is it that people who display high confidence behaviors and people who display low confidence behavior, in fact, have the same level of certainty about the outcome? Because high confidence has got nothing to do with the outcome. It has to do with the fact that you have trained your brain that you can do hard stuff and that it is safe to do hard stuff and that you're willing to do it and willing to learn and willing to grow. So this is powerful in all businesses. It's powerful in all personal spaces. It's powerful in relationships. It's powerful when we have to have a high conflict conversation. It's powerful when we need to make adjustments and pivot in whatever else we're doing. Because over time, the more that you are willing to use raw, the more your beingness becomes one of self-confidence, and it's not topic related. So that when, and this will happen, this is life, there is always going to be something that your brain has not seen before. It cannot predict the outcome. If you're parents, this is a good one. Like when you have your first child, your brain has no evidence that you personally are going to keep this child alive. So how do we have confidence in that space? By having confidence in ourselves based on having in the past done things that were unpredictable and surviving and creating success with it. So I say to people a lot, done is better than perfect. And if you are wanting to build confidence, the answer is go do it. Go do the thing, however imperfectly it is, however the outcome of that thing looks, because the confidence is not related to the result. It's related to the activity of doing something that was a challenge to you. So I hope that was valuable today, and that you got something out of it. Have an amazing day today.